Hello, I'm Sean Summerfield. Welcome to Bentley Auckland. You have made a point of always sharing very special cars with you, and this is one of them. In fact, this car, we had to sneak it down here at the dark of night last night, get the covers on. Why? Because, well, let's just say it's not subtle. This car stands out like no Bentley you've ever seen before on New Zealand roads. And to explain a bit more about it, I'd like to welcome from Bentley Auckland, Derek Bennett, mate. Thank you for a couple of things. Thanks for having us here. And thanks for not just sharing this car, but bringing these cars to New Zealand, because this is a very special machine.
It is, yeah.
And there's something else about it.
Super special.
Can you indulge me for a moment?
Yep.
This car sort of started, it has a Kiwi link, Rhys Millen, Kiwi racer, we love him, son of Rod Millen. Yep. And it started with the Bentayga.
Yes, it started with the Bentayga. Pikes Peak Hill Climb was won in the SUV by Rhys Millen in 2018. I mean, he absolutely,
Well, he set the record by a lot.
He set the record by a lot. And then a year later, Bentley took the Continental GT back to the mountain and didn't only win it by a second or 2 seconds or 4 or 5, but by 8 seconds.
You're giving the game away, mate.
They beat the world record.
Get the covers off this thing, mate. You've given the game away.
Let's take it off.
A very special car.
Okay.
You'll see now why I said this car couldn't be hidden. Off they come.
Come on then.
That colour is called radium, is that right?
That's correct. It's radium.
Wow.
It's a special Bentley colour, and as you can see, it's beautifully, let's call it, matched against the calipers and the tyres and a number of other features inside the car.
We'll take a closer look. So this car's official title is the Pikes Peak Continental GT by Mulliner. By
Mulliner, and there's 2 Mulliners. Right. Okay, it's really important. So there is Mulliner that's fitted on the production line, which you might have a Continental GT with a Mulliner driving specification, but this is a GT by Mulliner. Okay, so the Mulliner department is separate to the factory. It's inside the factory grounds, but it's separate. So if they complete the cars on the production line, they then move them across to Mulliner, and that's where they build them. Not quite a skunk works, but they do their secret work. Exactly.
Right. Yep. Let's talk some things about this car, and we're going to talk about the most obvious thing. There's not a lot of subtlety about the graphics. I can see Pikes Peak on the side of this car.
Correct. There shouldn't be any subtlety. I mean, it won the hill climb, and that's the whole point of these cars, is that they're a celebration car, essentially. I mean, they're not a technically modified car, because they were never supposed to be. The whole point of the hill climb is that the car is straight off the factory floor and straight up the mountain, other than a few modifications like seats and things like that. But essentially, you'd be able to jump in that car and go straight up Pikes Peak and get that record time, if you were Rhys Millen, of course.
Right, now let's come over here, because it's not just the sides, the roof has the graphics on it.
Correct.
And now Derek said about this car being like the race car, and he said, aside from the seats and a couple of safety things you have to have for to take part in the race, this is the car. This could actually be lined up at Pikes Peak.
Yep.
And you could match his time if you were good enough.
If you were good enough, I reckon you can get very, very close in that car with those comfort seats, with those massaging seats, and all of those nice things inside. You could get very, very close to his time.
Now, there is something about this car. So I've said that every Continental is pretty much capable of doing that in theory, but only a handful can do it looking like this.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's one of 15. There's 2.
That's in New Zealand?
No. There's 15 in the world. There are 2 in New Zealand, none in Australia.
He loves saying that, doesn't he?
But there's none in Australia. And I believe the third one on Asia Pacific, on our side of the world, is in Japan. So 2 in New Zealand, 1 in Japan. That's it for this side of the world.
Wow. That is incredible. So in theory, that really means just a couple in the Southern Hemisphere.
Correct.
That is amazing. Just amazing. And you've got 2 of them.
We've got 2 of them, yes.
And this one's super rare too, because the graphics we talked about, I did some research, Derek, only 35%, which is about 5 or 6 of these cars come with those graphics.
That's right, only 5 or 6 with those graphics. 35% of 15 is not that many cars, but we are over the moon that we've got one here with these graphics. The other car looks very, very similar, has the Pikes Peak decal at the front and the tyres and the acid green calipers, but doesn't have the side graphic. So
I should point out too, sorry to interrupt, this is not a sales pitch, because the cars are both sold. This is just about sharing these cars.
They are both sold. So it really is just to, I guess, let New Zealanders know we've got 2 of these cars here to keep a good eye out for them. They'll be
I don't think you'll miss them.
They'll be great for the car enthusiasts and Instagrammers that we've got over here to see one of these out on the road.
Look, Derek and I are both car guys, and we talk far too much about different cars and shameful cars from the 70s we remember and still think are cool. But let's talk about this machine and some things that we would actually get top trumps about. Gigantic brakes in acid green.
Acid green, and I understand that was incredibly hard to achieve. That's not just getting a brake caliper and spraying it green. That's got to last for 40, 50, 60 years and look that good. So that's the difference between Mulliner and doing something here locally. That has got to stand the test of time. And it's the same with those tyres. Those are a Generation 2 Pirelli tyre, and the paint that you see on them is actually embedded into the rubber.
Yeah, because look, you know I love my Formula One, and this is like the Formula One tyre.
That's right. So that's the thing. I got white walls on a car once, and they lasted about 5 minutes. That's right.
But this is actually part
embedded.
of the tyre.
That's embedded into the tyre, and when the tyres are dirty, you can actually polish that green and polish that back to its, or buff it back to its normal.
Yeah, it's funny with the Bentleys of old. We think of Bentleys as British racing green. There's a whole new kind of green going on. Radium racing green. Actually, speaking of the old cars, because you know I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes to cars.
Yeah.
The painted grille.
Yes.
That is epically cool.
It's very cool. The reason for the 100 is that last year Bentley had their centenary, and that's when the Pikes Peak Hill Climb was achieved. So each of the cars has an optional, but I think everyone's gone for it, number 100 on the grille.
How could you not? Because that's like the blower days used to have that painted grille, which I just love. And speaking of the front too, the black treatment really shows off the new look.
It does, and I think this is quite clever because what Bentley have done here to give it this sort of wide open mouth is just a very, very subtle thing, and that is paint this black. So it looks like it's got a different front end, but that is the factory front because it has to be a factory car, and they've painted that black, and then you get this beautiful wide open front.
I'll tell you the one thing that is sort of subtle about this, and that often isn't the case with cars like this, is the carbon fibre.
That's right.
And that's a real Mulliner thing as well, isn't it?
It is, yep. That's a Mulliner styling kit. You can have that on another GT, but again, fitted by Mulliner, beautiful carbon fibre.
Well, we talk about all the race car touches, but the sort of irony, if you like, about this car, Derek, is that the beating heart is not a race engine.
Standard engine.
No, he says standard.
It is a standard
engine.
Tell
me the numbers.
No. It is, okay, in Bentley world, we would call that a standard engine. 6 litre W12 twin turbo, 626 horsepower.
Just a standard lazy 626.
Yeah, but it's Bentley, isn't it?
And a lot of old school grunt torque as well.
Torque, I think when you look at the 900 Newton meters, this car 900 Newton meters, this car has. That is why it did so well at the hill climb, not by 1 or 2 seconds, but by 8 seconds.
That and a very clever transmission.
That's right.
And all-wheel drive.
And all-wheel drive.
Yes, vital for putting all that power down.
It can get pretty busy.
And it's amazing, with that much power but all-wheel drive, you can actually see why it did what it did.
That's right.
We've talked about the Continental before. It's not a little car, but it can carry itself extremely well.
It does, and I've always said that given our terrain and our roads and our mountainous passes and things like that, and one of my favourite roads in New Zealand is the Rimatukas.
Oh yes.
Have you been over the Rimatukas?
I have.
The Rimatukas is a great road. This car would eat the Rimatukas for breakfast. Yes. That would be a flat road all the way through the Wairarapa in this.
Yes. And they see you doing it too.
They would. I mean, Star 555. Star 555 could be a little bit busy, but...
I just saw this sort of Incredible Hulk come flying past.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Hey, Incredible on the outside. I'm going to shut the bonnet. I want you to open the door and show us what they've done inside, because this is where we really see the Mulliner touches. So with the wonders of television, we can actually look now and see Rhys inside his car, Derek, and at first glance, it looks like he has exactly the same interior that you do right now.
Well, at first glance. So strictly speaking, it's not quite the same because he didn't get to have a full massage or ventilated seats or any of those lovely, comfortable Bentley features on his race up the hill. But really, I would say that Rhys, knowing Rhys and having met him last year, was it last year? Yeah. He could probably drive this car up the hill at exactly the same time, with or without the roll cage and with or without
you won't
those
let him
seats.
have a test drive, mate.
Not on these cars, no.
Some lovely touches here and more green as well. And I've got to say, my favourite is the B&O speakers. I just love that.
Those Bang & Olufsen speakers are a first for Bentley. It's the first time they've actually anodized them in that way. So that it's not paint. Again, it's a very different process. It's a very complicated process. And I think, the end result, when you match it to the stitching, the exterior of the car, and the whole ambience of these Pikes Peak GTs, it really is something special.
I love that we did a head indicator on the top of the steering wheel.
Dead ahead, that's right.
And that's a real race car must for a Pikes Peak, isn't it?
It is.
And the real Pikes Peak reminder, not just the sill plates here with the Pikes Peak in carbon, but on the dash there, carbon as well, but a piece of the Pikes Peak course. And that's different in every one of these cars, is that correct?
That is correct. On this particular one, you've got Engineer's Corner right down the bottom there, and each car has its own individual map. And when we've got 3 Pikes Peak Bentegas in New Zealand as well, with exactly the same individual maps, so they have different maps. And of the 15 cars, this has its own unique one, the other one has its own unique one, and that's just a little bit of an extra point of difference for each Pikes Peak GT.
I won't lie, Derek, I'm not surprised there's so many great luxury touches because that's what Bentley do so damn well, including, I see double glazing still.
Soft closed doors.
Sort of my favourite things about the Bentleys. But this car, for all that luxury, it's a genuine sports car. It is. This is GT turned up to,
it is.
I don't know what number.
Yeah.
It's a record-setting race car. Something else.
When you think about it, 6 litres, W12, twin turbo, what other car sits above a 6 litre, has a direct shift gearbox,
and can go this damn quick, 333 k's an hour top speed, by the way.
What is that car?
I'm thinking that's a bit of a clue, the letter B.